Hi everybody. This will be the first time I've ever really posted on this forum. I've checked Reddit every now and then when I have some downtime at work. However, I wouldn't consider myself an active member of the community. Just recently I had an experience and I feel the need to share with people who would understand. I haven't told my girlfriend or my family, and I don't think that they would believe me. Sharing with them would simply destroy my credibility and begin a slow decline of trust and the belief in my sanity. So, here goes nothing. My name is Steve. I just recently moved to Washington, D.C. to work for a government contractor. I'm a recent graduate from college and an Army veteran, and I was very sad to leave my home in Tucson, Arizona. There is nothing out of the ordinary about my life. A loving family, siblings, a girlfriend of 3 years. Everything has been really great, to tell you the truth. Now don't get me wrong, I love working and living in the DC area. But some weird things have been happening to me that I'm having a hard time comprehending. I consider myself a very rational person. I've never been a believer of paranormal activity or conspiracies, and I'm skeptical about pretty much everything. I'm not a paranoid person, and I am in perfect mental and physical health. As things started to happen to me, I would rationalize them and brush them off, as a coincidence or mistakes. But recently, it's come to my attention that something is happening to me that I cannot easily explain. Like I said, upon moving to DC in the month of May, I began working for a government contractor. A very small firm that mainly performs business consulting and management practices. As a contractor, I'm required by law to sign a few non-disclosure agreements, and confidentiality agreements, and etc. These contracts are by far the easiest to acquire, and the position that I'm in does not require any form of government clearance whatsoever. It'd be possible for any college graduate to assume my position. I work in procurement, and the most interesting thing that I get to see all day is an invoice for the White House's toilet paper for the month. I have had some interaction with federal employees, but they are mainly low-level civilian employees. To get the picture, nothing top secret, nothing out of the ordinary. Just an office job in procurement to prepare documentation and invoices for billing. The first couple of months on the job were great. I got my cubicle, formed a little lunch bunch, and had plenty of friends to go out with for happy hour after work. That and having my girlfriend 10 minutes down the road made my move to DC much more enjoyable and less nerve-wracking. Things were going excellent. By the end of June, some strange things started to happen. On all 3 of my phone lines, my home, work, and cell, I began to receive some odd phone calls. The caller ID never displayed any information, not even restricted number, or whatever it usually says when somebody blocks their number. The same man would always be on the other end of the phone. Before I even had time to say hello, the man on the other end would say in a monotonous voice, "Is this Steve?" The first few times I would reply, "Yeah, how may I help you?" But he would have no response and would immediately hang up. After a few times, the calls started to become quite obnoxious. They seemed to happen every hour on the hour for about 2 days until I began to reject them. The phone then went silent for a couple of weeks. About a month ago, the phone calls started up again. I found it strange that the phone numbers were no longer blocked. Each call would come from a different number, and they would immediately hang up after asking for me. It was the same voice on the other end of the phone. I tried calling the numbers back, but the automated operator's voice would come on saying, "Your call cannot be completed as dialed." I am still getting phone calls, only about once a day now. They seem to come around at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The return of the phone calls was accompanied by a few different odd occurrences. About a month ago, our firm hired a new accounting lady, Brianna. I think she's a CPA. She truly is a sweet person. She always tries to act like a mother and always looked out for me. But unfortunately, as the newest hire, It was necessary for me to share an office with her, so I had to downsize my desk and make room for a new office mate. Not the end of the world, really. As an accountant, Brianna had the responsibility of billing our client, the federal government. In order to bill the client for the amount of work we had done for them, we need to keep strict timesheets that truly represent the amount of work that we have done. All of the data is entered into the computer, approved by our supervisor and printed and stored in our personal folder. Since Brianna had moved in, the personal folders were stored in the lock and filing cabinets that happened to be located in my office. One day, I was on a conference call, so I had to shut my door. Brianna left to take her hour-long lunch break as per usual, and felt confident leaving the files open, seeming that I had the door shut and locked. My call wrapped up within a few minutes, and lo and behold, my curiosity got the best of me. I walked over and I started looking through some of the files, and I paid extra close attention to mine. Within the file was an offer letter addressed to me, and signed by me. However, I had never seen this letter before. The letter corresponded with a job in the defense industry, and collected a yearly salary nearly triple of what I make now. I was shocked. Things began to get stranger as I thumbed through the contents of the folder. There were bank statements for offshore accounts in my name, with hundreds of thousands of dollars in them, multiple passports with my photo issued from different nations, birth certificates issued from multiple hospitals in and around Arizona. Like the offer letter, I had never seen any of these documents before. They were all fake. They had to be. Startled, I placed the folder back in the cabinet and I tried to pretend that I had not seen any of the information. I had to be imagining it. Was I looking at the wrong personal file? I don't know. I didn't talk to Brianna for the rest of the day. The next day, the filing cabinets were removed from my office and placed off-site. Brianna was fired immediately and was not given a reason. Some of the other people in the office were pushing around a rumor saying she was skimming money off the top of an account, but I don't really think that's why. About 3 weeks ago, I started to get the feeling that I was being followed. There was this man, very tall with a finely groomed beard and a gray suit, who I thought that I began to recognize. I would always see him when he was out in public, but he would always be a pretty good distance away from me. I would see him in the metro on an opposing platform, or he would be across the street from a store or restaurant that I was in. It was very strange. It began to get much more noticeable. He began tailing closer and closer until I could recognize him. I would try and avoid him, keeping my head down, and running out the back door of my office to get to my car after work. Last Friday, while I was in line to get a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, I looked out the window and saw him staring directly at me. He was on the sidewalk, directly in front of the coffee shop front doors, motionless. He was in his cleanly pressed gray suit, sporting his beard. His cell phone was placed up against his ear. He didn't break concentration and continued to stare directly at me. My phone began to vibrate in my pocket and my heart stopped. I had never been so scared in my life. I looked down at the screen of my phone and no caller ID appeared. I bolted, straight for the back door, knocking down the woman in front of me and spilling her coffee. I made it about 2 blocks down Pennsylvania Avenue in DC before turning around. There he was, sprinting right after me in the daylight, eyes still locked on me. Now, I'm not the fastest runner in the world. I do a lot of lifting and tend to skip out on my cardio days quite a bit. He was able to quickly catch up with me, and from there, I'm not exactly sure what had happened next. He was holding something that made a glimmer in the sunlight. At first, I thought that it had to be a knife and I was about to be stabbed, but I am beginning to believe it was a syringe of some type, as I have a bruise on my shoulder similar to when I got a flu vaccine. This is the last moment I truly remember clearly and vividly. The next thing I recall is being strapped down to something similar to a hospital bed. I only have about 45 minutes of memory, really. It goes dark and fades back in very quickly, just like when you're about to black out from drinking way too much. although I could still speak fine. I was very weak, woozy, and could remember drooling a lot. 3 men were standing in front of me, one of them being the man in the gray suit. They were asking me many questions. I can't really recall any specific questions they were asking me, but I feel as though they were asking me all about my history, where I had traveled, who my friends were, all about my family, my girlfriend, and a lot about my tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The next thing I remember is waking up in the rocking chair on my front porch. I looked at my cell phone. It was 8:30 p.m. on Sunday. I had been blacked out since Friday morning. I checked my recent texts. I had sent several messages to my girlfriend, telling her that I had to fly to Denver for the weekend for work. Not out of the ordinary for that to happen. There was also a good amount of normal-looking conversation between her and me, as well as my parents. I looked as though I had been texting all weekend. At this point, I had no idea what was going on. I ran into my house, hyperventilating. What the hell just happened? I had no idea. I called my girlfriend and I asked her to come over. I couldn't explain though, she would think that I was nuts, and I couldn't call the cops either. I had no evidence of anything of that nature. I checked my email. I had a United Airlines ticket booked, leaving on Friday and returning on Sunday. I called the airline to see if my ticket had been used, and it had been. They were able to confirm that I or somebody else used the ticket and boarded a flight under that name. My girlfriend arrived and we went to sleep immediately. I was exhausted. The next morning I woke up and I went back to work. Maybe it was all a dream. If I ignored it, maybe it would all go away. It was a pretty normal Monday. We had our bi-weekly meeting with the entire company, and there was a meeting about our health benefits open enrollment period. When I was in my office, I wasn't really able to get much work done. I had a very hard time focusing. I went home and I went to sleep that night. Today, Tuesday, had been a normal day up until about 30 minutes ago. I got a phone call on my desk phone with no caller ID, and once again, my heart stopped. I slowly picked up the phone and I placed it to my ear. "Is this Steve?" the voice said. "Who is this? What do you want from me?" There was a long pause. "Congratulations, Steve. You've got the job. You start tomorrow." The phone call ended. I am completely freaked out and I do not know what to do. I don't know what to do. Please believe me, I'm not crazy. Today seemed to be a pretty normal day, at first. I took the advice of many of the people in this thread. I followed a different route to work and I left over an hour earlier, and I entered my office from a different door. I completed my morning task, got to work on a new project, called in for some conferences and took my lunch break. Today I decided not to go out for lunch. I wanted to limit the amount of time I'm out in public because I don't necessarily feel safe. I decided not to eat anything or drink the coffee in the break room. Who knows what's in there? I packed my own lunch in a sealed water bottle and I enjoyed it on my own. After lunch, I continued working on preparing some documentation for a meeting that I have at the beginning of next week. As quitting time became closer and closer, I continually became more and more nervous. I didn't want to go home. I decided to tell my girlfriend I was not feeling well so she wouldn't come over. Although she wanted to help, I insisted that I wanted to be alone. I don't want to get her wrapped up in the situation. That is the last thing I would want to happen. After leaving the office for the day, I noticed something pretty strange. To preface, I parked my car in a public parking garage. It provides access to both the office building and an entrance to the metro subway. Therefore, a lot of people come and go from the garage. It isn't the rarest occurrence for kids to mess with your car, people to place flyers on your windshield, or just hang out down there for the warmth in the winter. Upon reaching my floor in the garage, I noticed a man hovering sort of near my car. I watched as he circled around it a few times, appearing to be looking for something. I stopped and I watched from inside the vestibule where you access the elevators. The man got down on all fours, looked underneath my car, and remained still for about 10 seconds, and then jumped up very quickly as another car turned the corner. He immediately walked away at a brisk pace and entered what appeared to be an emergency exit. I decided to see what was going on, so I ran across the garage towards the emergency exit. I burst open the doors to find a staircase, but no man. He was gone. It was very strange, and I was surprised a man could go up or down a flight of stairs in the amount of time that he had. It was very odd, but I tried very intently on brushing it off as a coincidence. Maybe he had dropped something and he was looking for it. Who knows? I left. After I got home, I did a quick inspection of the outside of my house. All the doors and the windows were still locked and I didn't see any evidence of somebody entering the house. I didn't have any roommates or pets, so it looked as though no one had entered or exited the house since I left in the morning. I entered my home. I turned all of the lights on and I started heating up some leftover lasagna that I had in the freezer. Not too bad if I do say so myself. After eating, it was time to head upstairs and jump on the computer. I still needed to make a few purchases of Christmas gifts and I needed to check my personal email. As of now, my computer is set up in the desk in my bedroom. I headed upstairs and I entered my room. Everything seemed pretty normal at first until I noticed a neatly sealed envelope placed directly in the center of my bed. The front of the envelope read in a typewriter-like font, "Steve." I freaked. I went absolutely nuts. Who was in my house and how did they get in? Were they still here? I calmed myself down. If they had wanted me dead, I assumed that I'd already be in a swamp somewhere. I let the envelope sit there for a few minutes while I stared at it. I had to take in the gravity of my situation. I grabbed the letter and I fled to an undisclosed public location. Just a few minutes ago, I decided to open the letter. Inside was a standard piece of 8.5 by 11 piece of white paper. In the center of it lied an address located within Northern Virginia. I'm not going to release the address to the public because I do not want to anger them. I just googled the address and I'm able to see what appears to be a nice looking house in an upscale neighborhood. There is no other information in the letter, simply just the address. I haven't yet figured out what my next move will be. Do I go? I'm not sure. I will sleep on it and think about it tomorrow. I will post again with any more information that I might have. That is, if nothing happens to me. Please pray for me.